Hello and welcome. I am the Restless Kaiser.
And I am Johnny B.
I'm James Workshop.
And I am Discourse from Discourse Miniatures. Hi.
But together we are
Modeling
for Monday.
What a beautiful sound to wake you all up in the morning. Hello to everyone. Let's just catch up with the good people in the chat. Josh Wood was here yesterday or something. I was chatting to him well before the show. Some dude called Modeling for Advantage. Yeah. Hello. Rich John is here. Hello, Rich. Aled is enjoying the experience that many of us have had. Busy swearing whilst building a bolt action 6-pounder and mortar. How much of a pain building metal kits are. We've all built bolt action metal cannon and they are a nightmare. For sure. They don't fit together, broadly speaking. That is the problem. Rosie Raccoon, hello there. Rich John, carry on, soldier. Subcommandante 73, hello, my friend. Got to drink a shot. Everyone said, Tanner said Games Workshop. This is not the show to do that on. Tony Holton is here. Anybody else? Text saying, howdy, my friend. Brother Mythos from Frost and Fist, hello there. Beautiful people. Nick from Team Clueless Games. Private Parakeet is our newest member. Welcome, my friend. All right, that's us caught up with the comments in terms of the hobbying. I'll quick whiz around, see what we're all doing. I set myself a very ambitious target today. I am dry brushing the bases on some Celts for a game of SPQR tomorrow. That is what I'm doing. What about you, John?
Woot woot. I've gone back in time to glue together some cheap knockoff Chinese RTB-01s. So you keep telling me. Mr. Workshop, what are you up to?
I'm going to pretend to continue painting these orcs. I'm not going to get anything done. So
are you cruel, boys?
I'll just do this for a bit and pretend, and then it'll be over.
Nice. And then it'll be over.
Discourse.
I will be painting some Infinity miniatures, some Ariadna miniatures from the new box, from the new Crimson
Very
Stone
nice.
box set that recently arrived.
Speaking of metal miniatures, they're a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. They are very nice miniatures, the old Infinity. Right, before we get into it proper, Discourse, would you be so kind as to tell the lovely people at home who you are, where they can find you, mission statement, all that stuff?
Sure. You can find me on YouTube. Just search up Discourse Miniatures. I'm there. I do a lot of content on Games Workshop, although I'd like not to do that. I'd like to just focus on the bad actors in the community, in the sort of hobby space, in the industry. But it more often than not is Games Workshop. So, you know, one thing leads to another. And I'm basically trying to get a bit of a consumer activism going forward and helping the hobby take off, because in the last few years, loads of new people have joined, and I'm worried that they're getting burned out on Games Workshop products. So I'm hoping that we can hopefully change some of those, I shall call excesses of the industry.
Right. Excesses of the industry. Subcommandante is taking his first shot. Sure. Right. So, that company that we were talking about. For anyone that's not had a chance to have a look at Discourse Miniatures, and I did mention a couple of shows back, you've been at this a few months now, is that right? And if I can just say, when I sort of came across you, I had a look at your back catalogue, and you see you've had quite an interesting journey as a YouTuber. You started doing some Batman content, which obviously, like, you had all of that passion, that enthusiasm, but there just isn't the viewer base watching it. And then you started making videos saying about everything that is wrong with Games Workshop, and you're just knocking it out of the park. Like, yeah, it looks like you're gaining like 500 subscribers every time I look at your look at your stuff.
I think in terms of audience, there's a lot of people who've been very dissatisfied with Games Workshop and with a lot of other companies as well, I must say. And they haven't really, I think that there hasn't been a great discourse online in terms of vocalizing some of that dissatisfaction in a sort of productive way. And I'm always trying to sort of point out why maybe you might feel a little bit of alienation from some of the current practices and try to get that across in a coherent and cogent way. I mean, look, I'd love to be spotlighting games that I really enjoy, but there's only so much time in the day. This workshop they keep cranking out stuff right now. And once, I'm hoping that there might be a little bit of sparser news on that front for a little bit of time, allow me to actually spotlight some of the games that I really, really love and I really, really enjoy. And I suppose the thing is as well, I actually really love a lot of the games. Like I love Warhammer. I love Warhammer 40K. I really like Age of Sigmar, and I play those games, but it's the business side of things that I have real big issues with. And the hobby's getting bigger. The hobby is getting bigger, and as it gets bigger, there'll be more money, and as there's more money, there will be more and more aggressive monetization tactics, and we have to be really careful about this because I have witnessed other industries, most notably the video game industry, just go down a very dark path, and I don't enjoy playing video games anymore, and I really want to continue enjoying my hobby. So I'm just trying to, hopefully make a little bit of difference out there, and I'm hoping that people are up for that as well, for joining me on that.
We shall see.
So what I enjoyed about your content, what I liked about it was it is easy to make a video saying Games Workshop are a bunch of twats. They just want all of our money, and we're stupid enough to keep buying the sweet new things. And but they are sweet new things, aren't they? And I do want them. But what I think you've really brought into that space is, although your videos are very high energy and quite tongue in cheek in a lot of ways, there's some research gone into that, and you've compared that to other industries. Look, so you did one recently on copyright, and I was quite. I just realized my air conditioner is still on. Is it affecting?
We can't hear it.
Then I'll leave it on because it's quite a hot day. Comparing it to like DVD piracy and so on, and it's actually, one of those. There's no statistically significant evidence to say it negatively, and there's some evidence that says it might be positive. And of course, not many people are doing that kind of thing. And like you said you mentioned consumer activism, it does feel a little bit like a witch report for miniatures in some levels, but in a little bit more fun. So I really like that. You brought it from a new angle. And the final thing I'd say on that is, and I'm increasingly changing my taste in my YouTube content, I want opinionated content. I don't want to have somebody read me the news anymore. I read the news anyway. I want to know what you think about it, not whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's indifferent. Yeah. So we went through a funny cycle with our unboxings and started thinking about maybe we don't want to do this. Everybody does this, and started thinking, actually, our unboxings get pretty good return views because we put into it. I usually waffle about history, frankly, but even when it's a fantasy box or whatever, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, let's talk about these orcs." Well, during the First World War, orcs were really important in the Gallipoli campaign because they had green uniforms. So let's talk about that. But as to get away from that really quite samey content. I'm a commuter. I get 3 hours of YouTube a day. I got to watch something or listen to something. I'll go mad, or quit my job. I want views. I want opinions. I want earnest opinions that I don't necessarily agree with either. You know? And so we certainly John and I enjoyed Hammer and Bolter. We enjoyed Warhammer Plus, and for me, it's not a terrible purchase. But I know when we talked about it, our viewers do not agree. They don't agree at all.
I'm too easy and too laid back. That's my problem.
I totally agree with you on that. I think that, look, there's a lot of really great hobby focused channels out there, and I watch a lot of them, but there's a lot of them, because ultimately, I mean, if you're doing stuff like unboxing, really all you're doing is buying something and opening it, and it's easy to do. Like I used to do it all the time because it was I could do it in a night, right? I could do it in an evening. If I didn't have anything else planned or anything like that, I could just crack that out. And also I could find the excuse to buy more stuff, which is great. Like everybody loves that, right? Oh, I have to do it for the channel. I have to buy this for the channel. It's
of course.
Like I totally 100% agree. And I think that there is a lot of content on YouTube that is literally just the news, as you say, or just an opinion, like, oh, this is happening. and that's it. Or maybe, I mean, what always really frustrated me is that maybe people will say things like, oh, and they're doing X, but you know what Games Workshop are like, they always do X, so anyway, let's move on. And I'd be like, no, let's stop there. Like,
let's stop there and talk about
like,
that
discussion, please.
Exactly. Like, how come they get to do that? Like, how come no one else does? Like, can we please, like, how come they have finagled things that everyone feels like they're in a hostage situation? It's just like, oh, well, you know, they just, as per usual, they are, you know, once again holding us for ransom. Well, I mean, I think that's bad.
Paying the ransom.
Yeah, right. Like, these things have to change.
Is it not the people and how they perceive it? And people are still buying it. Let's put it down that way. Yeah. Regardless, people are still buying it. Why? If they've got so many problems with it, why are they still buying it? Is it essential? No. Why?
Can I just clarify in the comments, because I'm too old for this. James, you're a young person. What is a sub-vom?
Nope.
No?
Pass me by that one.
I'm wondering whether it's some, like, you know, high alcohol intake technique that one can do. Sub-vom. Is that like a pre-vom?
It's going to be a sub-vom.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know
what that is. I'll just catch up with these. I don't think just consume. Well, I think that very much ties in with what we're talking about, doesn't it? Room will be spinning. Orc rip-off box was brilliant. Are you talking about the Beast Snaggers? Not sure which one. We're going to look at the Combat Patrol in a little bit, and that looks okay. Somebody's saying Games Workshop subs is sobering up. History Waffle and the MfA is the best bit. I love you, mate. Thank you. It doesn't have to be true. I just need to hear it. Product I won't even be buying. I've got to say, one of the things I have slowly Dante. Right. So yeah, one of the things that I've been trying to persuade people like John is to realize that with the channel, so you really don't need to buy all the new Games Workshop things. If you really want to, because a lot of it is just you want to open the box, you want to have that, you want to have it, and then you're going to put it in another box under your bed and leave it there because you're too much.
I have done, yes.
We'll get a couple, we'll unbox it on the channel, and then I'll put it on eBay. You can have the experience and not pay for it. Let's do that. Let's do that instead.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what made you start? Where did you? When you YouTube, obviously. I mean, because it wasn't like an early lockdown thing. Your channel, was it? It wasn't. So it came later. Yeah.
It was the Batman miniature. So it was originally the Batman miniature game. And I'd wanted to sort of do a channel for the longest time. But then, COVID happened, lockdown, all that sort of jazz. And in January, I was like, you know what? I really like Batman. If it's not going to be this game, like what game will it be? So I'm just going to go for it. So I decided just to do it just for a bit of fun, to see how it sort of like, to just get an idea, right? Almost like as a hobby unto itself. And to also, it was really useful to help me sort of achieve hobby goals. Like I'm going to have these guys painted for battle reports. And I sort of really wanted to try and kickstart the Batman miniature game community. There wasn't a lot of YouTube content creators, so I was like, okay, well maybe if there's not a lot of content creators out there, I can create some content for it. So I did that, and it was a lot of fun, and I made a lot of friends, and I thought it was great. But there's just not a lot of people playing the Batman miniature game. Now I personally think that it's probably one of the best miniature games around, but it's not supported very well by Night Models. So, or rather, it's supported fine. It's just that they have issues with like packaging and distribution, and it really sort of kills a lot of interest. So I was like, oh, well, that's sad. But I was going to keep doing it until I made the video sort of going over a lot of the issues that Games Workshop have been having, so like a summary, and people just found it really useful. And I was like, well, you know what? Next time I'm going to have a bit more opinion in my video, and I'm going to actually ask a real question. And then I just went on from there. I just started doing content that I really enjoyed doing about the business side of things, because there's just not a lot of people covering that aspect of it that are willing to go into the financial documents. Or
it's quite poorly informed. It's all very kind of entry level stuff. Like, well, my dad runs a grocery store, and he wouldn't operate his business like this. This is a multi-million-dollar corporation. Let's not pretend that they don't know what they're doing, because they really do. And they've had dark times that they've come through as well. They are absolutely gushing in cash because they know how to monetize their IP.
Oh yeah.
And they've tried other ways. I mean, if you go back maybe 10 years, how many Games Workshop computer games did you see? Extremely small numbers, really tightly controlled the license. And then 5-6 years ago, they're just like, yeah, any old shite can take it. Just get our name out there, mate. You know, and the problem with it was, you know, if you come from that kind of older generation thinking, if it's a Games Workshop game, it's probably been quite tightly controlled. It's going to be really authentic and
It's
a
gonna be
AAA
good.
title. So again, no, it's some mobile trash that's been ported onto Steam, and it's got very little to do with Warhammer. They're definitely gems in a rough. Because you mentioned video games, were you talking about downloadable paid DLC? What put you off them?
Yeah. In terms of like, so how do you mean? Sorry, like in what way?
You said that you used to be really into video games, and you've gone off them as a consumer. And I was, is that about paid DLC?
It's more than just the DLC. It's all the aspects of monetization. It's I mean, I loved games whenever it was like you bought the game, you got the expansion pack, sorted. That's it. That's all you need, right? Like you've given them 30 quid and then you've given them another 25 quid and that's it. That's the relationship, right? And they would support it with your patches. And that was expected, right? There was a real, it was very much driven by love of the art itself. Like developers were just really into providing, patches and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then, things developed and it got bigger, and it got really big. And now it's just about optimization of money. It's about going after wheels, these sorts of terminology, these business terminology starts getting entered into things. They talk about free to play in order to maximize their profit and their corporate strategies to do so. And it comes with this real terrible attitude. And now there's people growing up who have never known it to be any different. A lot of these things have been adopted from mobile games and they've just been spreading out throughout all of them. Day one DLC, there was the DRM stuff like years ago. It's endless. And the thing that frightens me is that I'm seeing these sort of similar strategies. Like it's clear that Games Workshop are taking a lot of hints from the video games in terms of how they're monetizing the games. Because, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like it's working over there. It's making so much money. Why not here? And it is working here. Like, tying up exclusives inside bundles, right? You got to buy in. You've got to buy a lot more models that you might not want in order to get, this one guy that you totally want. I mean, it used to be sold separately, but now not. And that frightens me because I think that there is a lot of people joining the hobby and I'm concerned for the future.
I do.
I think that's always been there with Warhammer, though. Sorry. It's been there for a very long time. So the starter sets, there was often like if you'd like to pay an extra tenner or if you get in the first 6 months kind of thing, you get an extra librarian in the box kind of thing. I think that's always kind of been there.
I think that strain has always been there. Like Games Workshop have always been the ones that have pushed that sort of stuff forward. It's just really working now, and they've optimized it in a lot of ways. I would say no, they really have optimized it.
Well,
and sorry.
No, I was just saying that it's interesting that a lot of the anger I see around Games Workshop is all directly attached to people's disappointment because of the hype and FOMO. It's like you're angry about something that you've been kind of engineered to feel.
Yeah.
You feel what makes you feel because this model is being released on Saturday that you suddenly absolutely need that. And you're going to be really quite cross if it isn't available.
Yeah.
Do you have every model in Games Workshop's collection? Because you've been bought into a way of thinking that you really should have day one, all of the others that ever come out beyond this point. And I find that very, very bizarre as a way of thinking. Everybody feels, and there's an unrealistic kind of social and community aspect. People talking, whining about gouges and all kinds of things. I'm thinking, this is not a once forever thing. And it doesn't matter if it is. I can't really see how you've become so frustrated by the aspect that you can't buy a particular model on a particular day. And they've done that to you.
Well, in fairness, like, sorry, go ahead.
Can I make a Cursed City exception to that? Because I really wanted Cursed City, and then they made about 14 of them. Anyway, I otherwise agree.
I really think that's a COVID thing.
Yeah,
I think they meant it when they said it wasn't going to be that limited, but they just couldn't deliver it. I genuinely feel that because it stands that they could have made a lot more money out of that.
They could
and
have.
they still can. If they turn around today and say we're going to produce another 10,000 boxes, people would be happy. I just don't think they can.
Since then, they've made other box sets made to order when they ran out, though.
Yeah,
yeah, but they've got schedules with these companies that are making stuff. They've got bits all over the place. They've got containers on ships. The logistics of doing that, especially when everything is backed up. For them
that's
to
only the
produce
paperwork. They don't print anything except scenery in another country. It's all printed here.
I know, but it's all got to be assembled and so forth.
Yeah.
If they spend their time doing that with Curse City, then they got to knock something else back, and everything has been knocked back. I think that they
decided. I don't think there's a single person who at the moment wants Curse City who isn't going to be like, they're coming in 12 months. Fine.
Right. Okay.
It's the communication as well, right? From Games Workshop is really lacking. Like
there are said never.
Yeah.
On that one.
Yeah. There are a lot of issues the Games Workshop have that could really be resolved by being just more open and communicate better. Like for example, the orc box. I have a big problem with the sort of posing and the restrictions on the orcs inside the combat patrol kit. And I have a lot of comments saying, well, they might be releasing, different versions of the sprues in a sort of more customizable kit in a separate box. Well, that's no good to me now. Like they're letting me pre-order it now, and they're trying to get me to pre-order it right now. They're not telling me that because they want me to buy this box. I don't like that. Tell me, let me make an informed decision. And they're trying to obfuscate things so that you can't make an informed decision. So it doesn't matter if they later on release it. That's not the point. The point is I have to make this decision right now. And as you said, they really do prey on that FOMO aspect. And there was, for one of my videos, I was looking into the Great Wargaming Survey, and I'm sure you guys all know about that. But one of the, I think it's the thing that most hobbyists value. So third most out of the top 5 or whatever, it's collecting, right? It's the collect them all aspect. People really love it. And I understand it probably more than you guys are. I love to collect everything I possibly can, because it feels incomplete if I don't, right? Like, what am I doing if I don't have everything, right? So I totally get that FOMO, and it really frustrates me. I will get taken in by it, and it's really, really annoying because I'm like the exact type. Basically, I'm making the videos that I make because someone needs to tell me to stop buying this stuff. No one else would save me, so I have to save myself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But the scale of the releases, this never thing because one of the things that Games Workshop have got a lot better at since Dark Imperium, and what was the one that came before that with the Dark Angels and the cultists, and the Dark something else, Grim Dark Vengeance.
Island of Blood, right?
Is they've stopped making those sets come with monopose, come with miniatures they can't reuse later. So like that exclusive Sisters of Battle stuff, that's in the Start Collecting box now.
Yeah.
There's nothing exclusive about it. They're now in that set. And the newer set, what they did, Dark Imperium, those kits were clearly designed to be reused. There was no mixing on the sprue. It's not like this sprue's got a Poxwalker, half a Marine, and half a Blight Drone, which you got in the previous one, which made those sprues really difficult to reuse. Sure. The bikes are on this sprue. The infantry are on this sprue. We're going to reuse this stuff. This stuff is not exclusive. It's going to be reused because the design and manufacture of the molds for the sprues is the expensive bit. That's where they don't want to wait. That's wasting money, I think.
Maybe. Ultimately, though, you're sort of inferring, right? And that's kind of the problem. Like, you have to infer this sort of stuff. Like, what's the harm? Well, I know what the harm is, right? Because it's going to mean less money for them. But, what's the harm in actually telling us that that's the case? Like, confirming that's the case. Oh, don't worry, we're gonna release it later. Well, they're not gonna. They just don't tell us that. And I know that they obviously are worried about their bottom line, but do they need to be as worried? It's not like they're only making 16 million like in 2014, right? Like they are making hundreds of millions of pounds now, and they are expanding into more markets too, right? So it can only get bigger from here unless they burn everybody that they currently have, which is my big worry. So it's frustrating for me because I totally agree with you. Like, I think that there are a lot of issues that could just be resolved, or maybe that aren't issues at all, but if just they communicated better on these things, I think it would be really useful.
Yeah. All right then. Well, look, we're gonna have a look
at rumor mongers and like listening to comments on Facebook, and then you can't even trust the comments on Facebook from GW France or something. You don't even know if that's true. And you end up following wormholes and rabbit holes just to try and work out whether or not you want to buy something, and that just means you don't if you're burnt out already.
Yeah. I've got some pictures. We're gonna talk about something else other than Games Workshop for a little bit. So if I bring those up now, because I'm pretty fizzy about this. If I can get it to work, share screen. Here we go. Boom. This has been a long time coming. So we're going to have Harry on the show on the 21st to talk a little bit more about this. This is the new Flames of War starter army box for late war Americans. And this is very late war Americans. This has got Pershings, Sherman Jumbos, that kind of stuff in it. This is interesting for two reasons. Reason number one, the factory in Malaysia has been closed for weeks. So I don't know how they're advertising this product and how they're getting into it, because we have a trade relationship with Battlefront, and they ain't got nothing to sell me. So I don't know whether this one was already on the boat before COVID hit Malaysia again, or whether they've paid for this magazine article, 6 months ago. And whether it isn't actually coming in a couple of weeks. But yeah, a couple of good things about it. One is we unboxed the Hungarian box, and it only had like 17 vehicles or teams in it, and it was still that $110 or £80 price mark. And I wasn't happy with that. I felt a little bit shortchanged in the box. This one's got more like 22 units, including an infantry sprue, or maybe some resin infantry if we're unlucky. So that, the value proposition has gone back up to making it the right level. But almost everything in here is a new sculpt. And it reminded me of, if I can go through the pictures, so I have to return everything back to small until I can use the right arrow. When they showed us these about a year ago, they showed us some 3D sketches of the models that were going to get done. And so I think this is all now finally going to arrive. So we've got this one, the Yag Tiger. Very excited about that, of course.
Boo.
This is the Wolverine, I think. So it's like an M10, but it's a lot faster because it's on the Chaffee hull, the M24.
Right.
This I get a bit confused with my Shermans. I think this is the Easy 8, but I'm not sure. Is it an Easy 8 or a Jumbo? Both of those are coming.
What if there's another picture of a Sherman?
Yeah,
sure is a Sherman.
Sure is, and that's the problem. I think the Easy 8 has got the wider tracks. I honestly can't remember. But this is the M24 Chaffee, is a really late war light tank. Obviously, that's a King Tiger. And that's the other Sherman. So whichever the other one was, one of these is a Jumbo, one of them's an Easy 8. I think this might be the Easy 8, actually. You'd see that kind of ridge along there and the much wider tracks. I think so, but it's that's shit. Your World War II rivet heads will chew my head off if I claim.
Have we got any about that? That's the Easy 8, says Hamster on the painting table.
Yeah, but which picture did I have when he said that? Is that the one we've got now?
Literally just come up.
Right, okay. But this is really good because essentially the American plastic kits, you had the M4A one, which came in the D-Day set. And to be honest, I'm not sure they were really still using them then by that point. That's the 1940s. It's an early 43 Sherman, the M4A one. I'm not saying they didn't use them. But this by mid-44, I think they mostly had the E3s. And they do make an E3 kit, but it's an older kit. It's a little bit complicated, a bit unwieldy, and maybe the proportions are not great. So we really wanted these later Shermans, which bring their extra capability, among other things, and just to mix up your army, make it look a little bit different, that's all. And with the American one, so this is really 1945, or certainly winter 44 stuff. I don't know whether the Chaffee ever really saw combat. I think it was shipped to Europe. Like the Pershing, did just about get here in time before the war ended, but there's no real major engagements. But the King Tiger, that's the Tiger. That's the 1944 Tiger, and that's what's all of the SS Panzer groups in the Battle of the Bulge are King Tigers.
Rocking them. Wow.
Yeah, mate. You know, as a war game, you're like, this is some mental late war vehicle. So yes, it is, and that is the mental late war vehicle that they hoped to knock the Allies out of Europe with. It didn't work. The thing does 20 yards to the gallon, and they don't have any fuel. So, but it's easy to forget that they stopped making Tiger quite early, because by the time Tiger hits service, IS-2 is way better than Tiger. You know, it's very quickly. It's not that Tiger isn't still great at the end of the war, it's that it isn't the world beater that they kind of wanted it to be. So they almost immediately, when it's in service, say, yeah, okay, we got 1,000 of them, let's stop production and start something even bigger. What we got? Chaffee saw a lot of service in war films for both sides. It certainly did. Yes. If you've this may be something you don't know or haven't done. If you didn't grow up like I did, watching World War II movies on a Sunday afternoon when your dad came home drunk from the pub, then you might not have watched a lot of these 1950s and 60s movies, which have very, very random tanks pretending to be World War II tanks, and it can be quite a fun experience. And they're not Panzers, are they? I said, no, but let's see if we can work out what they are. I said, oh, it's a T-54 that's been painted grey. They don't even
some MDF on the front, just nice and vertical.
In some cases, they just straight up haven't even bothered. You know what I mean? They just painted them, and so it can be quite an interesting little experiment. Right down to even in the Patton movie, I think there might be T-54s, and that's a really well-regarded movie. Really well regarded. Yeah, just so.
They just changed the shape of the tank with some like cardboard and stuff. What?
Sometimes,
was it
but
blatantly?
Often not. Often not.
Wow.
Not even bother with that. They usually paint in the right color. You couldn't make tea in it. Certainly not in King Tiger. Battle of the Bulge. Yeah, let's look at that one again.
The Chaffee was used in the Battle of the Bulge. I just looked it up. That point onwards.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Gotta love Patton fighting German Pattons. Oh, are they M60s? That's beautiful. As a poetic majesty. I think you're right now, come to think about it, actually. Yeah. Or is the M48 not the M60? Right. Okay. Anyway, that's the Flames of War stuff. Did you do any historicals yourself, Discourse?
I've looked into some of them. Bolt action, I know that might be sacrilegious here. I'm not too sure because I know there's a big fight over Flames of War versus bolt action. But bolt action is really
we do both.
Not around here.
Yeah, we love bolt action. It's our biggest, it's our most popular videos. Bolt action.
To be honest, when I was looking into bolt action earlier on in the year, and awesome, and I was actually really surprised at how modern it is, right? Like in terms of how recent it was made. Like I thought it was back to the 90s or something, but 2012 or so, bolt action came out, I believe.
I suppose the 90s is a long time ago to you, isn't it?
It is designed by the guy who made third edition Warhammer Fantasy in 40k, so it's a very familiar game set to old ones.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's a Rick Priestley game, and you can tell 100%.
Well, it has a lot of innovations, though, right? Like the initiative system.
The tokens that's the game changer.
Yeah,
and Warhammer is not going to do it because it's a mechanic from Rick Priestley after he left Games Workshop. And knowing how Games Workshop worked historically, he quite possibly spent 10 years trying to bug them to do this, and then they wouldn't. So he went over to Warlord and started doing it. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pity because it looks really interesting. That I really want to try it bolt action.
It's very simple, but once you've used that, because the activation system. It's not just good because it mixes it up. There is such a thing as a double turn, but it's only for one model, not for your whole army.
Yeah.
You know, I might get to move my tank last, and if I'm lucky, I'm the first draw of the next turn, so I shoot you before you get to hide. But that's a really, really fringe case for that to actually work out for you. I might get 2 shots on you with my artillery.
Yeah.
But always with that, the competition is you don't know when your next dice is going to come out. Drawing the first dice by turn 3 is definitely what you want to happen. But there's 3 or 4 things you want to do with that first dice, and you can only do it with 1.
Yeah.
So tell me if I'm wrong. Because I've watched a lot of battle reports of it, but it's alternating activations, and it's that you draw the dice from the bag, right? And then and I just love. I can't. Ever since I started experiencing games with alternating activations, it's really tough to go back to games like Warhammer and just have that deluge of shots being fired at your entire army with no way to respond. It's very frustrating, and it feels almost archaic in that there's a legacy that Warhammer is trying to maintain that maybe is a little bit, not really fit for purpose anymore.
Yeah.
But I think it's a scale of game thing that because as you see with Warhammer, as soon as you change from one player making the decisions or doing the actions, the more dynamic and interactive it is, the slower it is. And that's so I played a series of board games that were all less than half an hour but had combat in. It's like, why does this work? Said, because I roll 1 dice, and if I roll a 6, you die, and if I roll a 1, I die. And the further away from that you move, the longer it takes. So skirmish games can use that gain time to have these more interesting mechanics.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point, actually. I'd never considered it that way. That's a really good point.
But because bolt action it's not even alternating, it's random activations. You don't even have the certainty that you're going to get action 1 and action 3. I'm when my next one comes, the number of times that John just puts his hand in the bottom of the bag and says, "These last 4 are yours." That's how I get to go. There's often at least one turn where one player has entirely done all their actions, the other player's barely had a go. But that's usually only one turn in a 6-7 turn game. But
that keeps it so fresh, though, right? Like you're constantly on edge, right? You're constantly anticipating what's going to happen, what you can do on your turn if you pull the dice, right? And then if you don't, suddenly the conditions change, and now you have to rethink your entire strategy about what you're going to do, and that's awesome. Right? That sounds so innovative and fresh.
But for a skirmish game. But in terms of tactics and strategy, it's terrible because really you're just playing the available moves. You don't know you can't plan anything. Like, okay, what's my best move now when I've got the dice in my hand? So, but it does keep it for a skirmish game. I think it's really good. Whereas Mortal Gods is another game that James and I have played, which is similar, but you get a turn, then I get a turn. But what it has, which bolt action doesn't have, is it has an end of turn mechanism within that bag. So there's 3 red tokens among everything else. Each time you put a red token, something bad happens. On the 3rd one, the turn ends no matter how many models have moved.
Oh.
Yeah. That could be the first 3 things out of the bag. And the turn's just over.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah.
That's pretty spicy. I like that.
Yeah, I like those kind of things. Right. So other pictures. Then we got to check that out. Beautiful. What's that, John?
Oh, mate. So
I've been holding on to this for a while.
I always say sausage. Dark Arnold, he's actually in the chat at the moment.
Yeah.
I stole that word from him because he constantly uses it for everything. So I call everyone sausage, and everything's a sausage or a doofer. But yeah, a colleague come up and was like, "Do you know what you're missing, John? There's one thing you're missing," and he changed my screensaver to that sausages, and he did it because he knows that I won't be able to figure out how to turn it back. So sausages it is.
This is John's workspace. That's his workstation at work. He's a model maker.
Working on a couple of buildings.
I did a similar thing to a friend many years ago. Was mapped sound bites from Dad's Army to different functions on his keyboard. So every time he tried to shut down, the computer would be like, "You think that's wise?" You press enter, "Don't tell him, Pike!" And he had no idea. Obviously, for the first 10 minutes, it was hilarious. But it was like a month later, he's like, "I'm fucking sick of it. How do you stop it? Oh, I'll do it for you, mate. I'll do it.
I am. Yeah.
I've had my enjoyment out of it. Right. A couple other pictures then. This one. Right. So
Zoom.
you've probably already talked about this.
Enhance.
Is it still too small?
That's right. Don't worry.
It's the new combat patrol for orcs. That's
Combat Patrol Orcs is. Right.
This course has covered this one for sure.
Covered this one for sure. Yeah. Right. So plus points. We're going to do an unboxing. I've already got one on order. We'll send it to Clueless Mike. 25 miniatures, and pretty much everything in this box is new, right? These are new sculpts. The new boys, they're not a foot taller than your existing boys. The plastic Deathcopters people have been gagging for years.
Mm-hmm.
And Death Dreads, they're rubbish in the game, but everybody thinks they're cool. But it's basically cool free in a combat. It's a giant stompy choppy thing, right?
Hell yeah.
And there's even a new War Boss model in there, isn't there? They've not like thrown an old one in there, an old pain or something. Yeah,
it's a good looking model.
So when that reaction to this, like a lot of the combat patrols, people felt start collecting was great because I'll just get 5 of these and that's my army, right? The combat patrols, you really only want one, and only if you're a beginner, because there's a lot of unique models you don't want repeats of. But personally, I don't have a problem with that. I think if this is designed for beginners, you shouldn't expect to buy multiple ones to make it. This should be a great way to start your force, and I think they usually are. But there are some issues with it, I think. But that's on the knee. Compared to some of the others where you get like 10 models or something, this is nice.
Two of that box still looks like a reasonable force.
Yeah.
How have you not watched Discourse's video on this? How many boxes do you need? How many boxes do you need, Discourse, for a unit of 30 shooter boys?
Yeah, I was watching this afternoon.
10 boxes. 10 boxes for 30
10
boxes.
Yeah,
it's crazy what they've done. But yeah, if you're new into the hobby, it's cool because you get a bit of everything. Awesome.
So I was most put out by the idea that you said you make all your boys as shooter boys. It's like, no, don't do that. It takes too long and they never hit anything. It's loads of time goes.
It's fantastic.
Hey, in 2007, I read some math. Okay, I read an equation that showed that they did a lot more damage than if they were slugger boys, and so ever since then, always shooters. I have not updated that at all since, but you know, it probably still holds up.
It's an axiom. It's a scientific fact. You will not accept alternative views. Right. So here's a look at a close up of the sprue. So Discourse, you're the pro. So what's the problem here? That looks like some orc bodies, some orc arms, some orc legs. So orcs is. They look beautiful. What's wrong with that?
I love orcs. Like I do. I love orcs. But there's a lot of issues with this box. So first of all, yes, there's 3 shooters, I believe, and the rest are slugger boys or special weapons for each squad of 10. So that is super problematic. Like, you're going to need to buy loads of boxes if you do just want nothing but shooters. Or, you know, you can try and proxy it and things like that. That opens up a different sort of conversation. But secondly, I mean, the monopose models are good. They look interesting. Like, I actually really like the dynamism of the poses, but I'm not a huge fan of them being sort of instructing me in how they should look, especially for orcs. Like, orcs should be very customizable, I think, like very customizable. Maybe not as far back as like the Gorka Morka days where you had to, you know, you could fit as many boys as you could fit on the truck. Maybe not that far, but I mean,
I didn't lead to good model care either, did it?
Now? No. But like all the same, I think that the orc boys should be pretty ramshackle. So getting them on a pose. But okay, it's for beginners. Fine. I can accept that. But if it replaces the older box of orc boys, which they have sort of said they are doing, but they haven't yet. So that leaves us in a sort of limbo space. Then that means that, I mean, how are we going to build shooters? Like, are they going to bring in more customizable sprues? Then if that's the case, then why not put it in this box? There's just a lot going on with this combat patrol. And the big issue is that it's not clear. There's no information being communicated to the players. But they have opened it up for pre-order over the weekend. So good luck. You know, maybe it'll work out for you. Maybe it won't. you don't know. And that's just a big bummer. And it's cast a bit of a cloud over the entire release for me.
It's not going to be a unique unit that's like, this unit contains 3 shooters, 1 flamer, 1 rocket.
Well,
that kind of thing.
And interestingly, a lot of the codexes have gone down that route now. I know you've seen that. When I got hold of the Death Guard codex, and I opened it up, and it's like, it's not like you can take up to 2 melter guns now. It's like you can take your units are now, and it was really noticeable with the Skitarii because their weapons are totally different in function and range. Like the 10-man Skitarii unit can have 1 transuranic arquebus, 1 arc rifle, 1 phosphor pistols. Like these are very different, but nobody builds a unit like that.
No.
But because that's how the sprue is arranged, those are the weapon combinations you have.
Which is really interesting because the old selling point was if you want 3 transuranic arquebus, you buy 3 boxes.
3 kits. Yeah, absolutely.
So where's the logic in
which was a different thing to complain about, right? Which is the beauty of Games Workshop. We moaned about it when it was the way before, and now they've changed it. We moan about it now it's this way. Because it is our right as hobbyists to be disappointed with Games Workshop. They have let us down again, no matter what it was.
British hobbyists.
Demand better.
Yeah. What we crave disappointment. So, John got a new car. So, did it come in the color you want? No. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
It's starting to feel a little bit like the further Games Workshop gets away from its core games, the better the games get. Like they're so stuck in their old ways of trying to make something fit that something like Warcry, you just look at it and you go, that's a good game. Like you didn't even try to make that Warhammer.
Yeah. Warcry was the game that was just like, this is the best Games Workshop game I played in a long time. But there just isn't the support for it. It's like, I don't want, my big problem with that game fundamentally was I didn't want a second identical set of unique models. For the bespoke kills, I had that Corvus Cabal. It's like, well, if you played it a few times, you want to mix in a few different ones of a slightly different combination of your warband. So, but they're going to be identical models, and these are really, really, and that's the thing with monopores. I like monopores; they're bringing out some beautiful models, but there needs to be more of them. And just my hope is that over the years, you don't replace the Death Guard kit; you just make another one. This is Death Guard A, this is Death Guard B. They're very different sculpts.
Well, it's what a lot of other companies do, right? Like skirmish games companies are brilliant at this, where they'll bring out like a set for a certain faction, and then they'll bring up an expansion pack for that faction. And I mean, I suppose Games Workshop should probably be learning a lot of lessons, because that's a really good way to do the business, actually, because then it means that you can just people's items can get invalidated. They can just continue to expand their collection, and it's all above board. It's the expansion pack again, It's perfect.
That is what they're doing with Necromunda. Just the game sucks. So
we were talking about that before the show. All of us want Necromunda to be great. I think we do still play it, right?
Oh yeah, but I love the campaigns, right? And I suppose in a lot of ways you could probably get that anywhere. It's just that I do love the narrative campaigns, and I love plasma guns, and playing gangers. So it's I can't help myself.
Plasma gun in Necromunda.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Although I like to play it that it's a big deal. So I have like one plasma gun, and I go, this chick, she's gone nuts. She's loving this.
I think I had a bolter in that, and it was like one shot, and then it ran out of bullets. You can get a plasma gun.
You can get a plasma gun. You get one shot, and it runs out of bullets. But it's a good shot, man. It's a hell of a shot.
Good shot. Yeah. And if mechanically that was simpler to deal with, I'd just be so much happier. I just, I really want to like Necromunda. How many? John's just done a little bit of selling of the old Warhammer, a pile of shame. He brought it round with eBayed it for him because he needed a new car. In the wrong color, you'll note. He's become boring. It's silver, man.
Mate, it's got an engine. It has wheels. It has 1, 2, 3, 4.
You've got a boring silver car.
5. It's got 5 cup holders, of which I can confirm they don't work because my hot chocolate flew out into the passenger side footwell just last night. So it's pretty
cups stay though.
No,
the
cup went.
just
Everything just went. The whole thing.
so useless.
Gone. Round
That's
a
useless,
roundabout. Oh my god.
We should complain. What company is it?
Should. Well, it's not a new car, you see. It's a second-hand car. But yeah, you're right. Let's take it to the top. Take it to Vauxhall. Take it to the top.
Yeah.
May not be a Vauxhall, but I'm taking it there. There's a car plan. I completely lost track. Well, yeah. So anyway, I can't remember how many Necromunda gangs were in that box of stuff that you brought for us to eBay, but there was quite a few.
There was half a Delac, because I'm one of these hobbyists that picks out 3 items from an entire sprue to make it unsellable again, and then maybe use them or maybe not. So yeah, Kaiser's got lumbered with loads of like sprues, and he's like, yeah, easy sell, boop, beef, bish, bash, bosh.
Come to sell. Is that there's
maybe something there?
What is that?
Yeah. You had what did you have? You had half a Delac gang, half a Van Sar gang, some Ambots. I really shouldn't have given you those.
Ambots. I remember laughing at you at the time when you bought them. You didn't even buy the Ambull. You bought the Ambot. It's like, you sure you wanted the right box?
But I've still got Escher and Goliath. So
they come in the box set. That's why, right?
Because
the big box was nice on the shelf. Yeah. Necromunda. I just think it'll be such a long time with Necromunda. It needs a complete restart with the rules. Something more like, I like the fact that New Kill Team feels a lot like Warcry did. Mechanically, it's simple, it's gamey, it's dicey. I roll lots of dice and I do well when I roll 6s.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, but I just find that aspect of the game fun. When I pick up a dice, I want a range of outcomes.
Yeah.
I don't want I pick up 20 dice, hitting on 4, so I get 10 hits, I get 5 wounds, you fail 2 saves. I'm playing on tables, like literally charts now. Whereas this doesn't have that. It's what we said before about Mortal Gods. It's because you've got a range of possible results. You throw quite a lump of dice with low chance outcomes.
So if that's true, and you like the range of different.
I like swinging in my games.
You like swinging. Well, why do you keep picking up the green dice then?
the green dice from Hit the Beach, Flames of War do seem a bit Pro 6. Although they let me down. We played. It's 8 minutes to go, so we're gonna start wrapping up now.
We played the best game ever made.
Best Games Workshop game ever. Lost Patrol. We had a game of that with the Scouts and the Gene Stealers.
It's
got little hex again.
2012 or something.
Each
they
of
sold
the
about
games,
15 copies.
Each of the games is less than 10 minutes long, including setting up and explaining the rules. The Scouts just get massacred.
Yeah, every time.
Totally massacred. Clueless Mike reckons he's won it once. I think he's just lying. Straight up lying. We've seen the end objective. So it's kind of a procedurally generated map. But it's that every time you put a tile down, there's probably enough Gene Stealers to kill your entire force on it. It's that kind of game. It's like, there's a corner there. They can come out there and kill you all in one go. I don't have a lot of control over it. I have no agency in this game. So you can shoot them on your turn.
Except you're in the jungle and it's Scouts and not Terminators.
Yeah.
Is there a push your luck element? Because Games Workshop love that, right? They love the push your luck sort of element.
No, this is you dead. That's it.
You did nothing wrong. You're just dead now. Yeah.
It's supposed to be hard, but I don't think they've really play tested and see how hard it is, because it isn't hard. It's just straight up almost impossible. Fundamentally, the Gene Stealer player can generally put a full stack of Gene Stealers immediately adjacent to a Scout and kill it every turn.
Yep. Oosh.
I don't know how I'm supposed to deal with that. I need to roll 6. I to roll a 6 is how I deal with that. But
easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's get everybody reminded of who you are and where they can find you. Discourse. You see your face there. So tell them who you are, what you do, where they find you.
Yeah, my name is Discourse. I'm from Discourse Miniatures, and you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/c/Discourse Miniatures, or just pop it into the search bar. You'll find me there, and you'll find all my videos there where I like to run through topical things that are going on in the miniature wargaming hobby. So in terms of the industry, I like to rag a little bit on some of the bad actors in the industry, and I also like to do very silly skits as well. So if you open up a video and you see me yelling very loudly at you, you haven't gone to the wrong place. That is indeed the videos that I make, and I'm sorry about that.
I wasn't sure. I can't yet decide whether it's kind of, because it's you. It's fundamentally you. But you seem to have a little bit of almost like a Kevin and Perry type persona with the cap and everything to do these skits in. But it's still kind of you, though, isn't it? So I
love that.
But yeah, they are fun. And if you're interested in the Batman miniatures game, you've got a lot of content on that as well.
Hey, knock yourself out. I got a lot of content in my backlog.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the hobbying, I successfully got the dry brush coat on these, so I can put the tufts on, and we can play tomorrow.
We're going to play it tomorrow.
We are, but the Skyclad miniatures are not ready, so everybody will be wearing at least pants.
I'm watching that one.
John, where'd you get up to?
I did a rocket launcher, but with no head yet. And I've done Cantor.
Are you going to be able to squeeze the head in sideways after that?
Yes, mate. I got tweezers and stuff. Yeah. That's what I did. Mr. Workshop.
This guy's got green flesh now.
There.
It went well.
Nice.
Discourse.
Nearly there.
Well, I got my high A elf all painted up there, tabletop ready for the next year.
What a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Is that battle ready?
It's good from 6 feet.
Battle ready, parade ready is that's more than 2 pants. That's what.
That's more than 2.
I actually got nothing done. It was too much fun chatting with you guys, so I didn't get anything done. Very unproductive. As usual.
Bad news, folks, is next week. I don't know if I said this at the beginning. I think I did, but I might have said it before the show.
I don't think you did.
I've got a work thing next week, so I am not going to be here. There's not going to be a show next week. I can't let these monkeys in at my computer and my logins and stuff. They'll just be. I'll switch my computer on and there'll just be a picture of a dildo or something that I can't get rid of. There'll be nothing. I'll be like absolutely trashed.
Best kind of dildo when you can't get rid of.
I'm not sure, man. So I'm logging. Just logging in from work. Judge Woods, boo. Yeah, we will be here in 2 weeks' time. So on the 21st, we're going to have Harry. It's going to be here. We're going to talk about what we're hoping to see. Hopefully, we have seen from Flames of War by then. Also, some of his tournament stuff, and a little bit about D&D and whether we go back to doing another session of that. Then we got Axe and Axe as a regular viewer on the show, but he has his own channel and is a commissioned painter. So I'm hoping he's going to share some of his beautiful work with us. And then in October, Military Wargaming, House of Hengist Comics, Beanster. If you remember, he's done his World War II East Africa Somaliland campaign. And he's got, they're kind of at the final stages of the campaign now. And he's got this beautiful scratch-built harbour. It's like looking at the kind of wargaming that I would see at wargame shows 30 years ago. You know, sort of scratch-built steamships and so forth. They're not amazing, but they're really nice, if you know what I mean. They've got
the love that went into it.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not like toilet rolls glued on. You know what I mean? They're good, but they're not 3D printed, which is what you'd see these days. You know what I mean? They're not just scaled up versions of something else or repurposed toys. They're hand built out of balsa wood and dowel steamships to fill a harbour. And I really like that. And I need to talk to him because we need, for our Flames of War Team Yankee stuff, we need to get some 15mm sheep and stuff like that. We need to get some battlefield detritus. Which is some of you, the eagle-eyed among you, will have noticed that on our battle reports for bolt action, in every single bolt action game, there is a coach wheel lent against the wall somewhere on the board as a little piece of scatter. It moves around. It makes no logical sense why it's there. But John puts it on the board every single time because we haven't got that much scatter scenery. In the so it'd be a Lost Patrol on Friday probably. We'll get you a couple of videos next week. We are going to do the Orc Combat Patrol unboxing. Clueless Mike's doing those. Clueless Mike has just, well, not him, his wife, they just had a baby, and with COVID and everything, we're just not interacting at the moment. So he's doing all of the Warhammer unboxing solo. It's not the way it will always be. It's just very much at the moment. He's the guy, the meta guy out of us. So he does the unboxings because he's actually got something to say about whether this force is any good. And he's doing it between feeding his child and so forth. So that's what that is. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Any final words, parting wisdom, John?
Never trust a fart.
Well, you finished. We got other things to do, man. We got things to do around here.
That was it. There you go.
So, James, apart from the Keanu Reeves colouring book, have you got anything useful to add? Any final thoughts?
I think I'm okay. I think you're
okay? We might finish on time, which is really disturbing. We've never ever finished on time.
I'm almost
it feels wrong
to happen at this point.
Okay. Discuss anything you want to say to the beautiful people at home?
No, just keep fighting the good fight, and never give up, never surrender, as was said on a very good movie once. So
I think I might have been based on real events, but yeah. Right, that was us, guys. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you for watching.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.